She knew something was wrong the moment Marcus couldn't look her in the eyes. Anna Gabriel pressed her palm against the cold hospital wall, her breathing shallow and uneven. The contractions were getting stronger, more frequent. Her water had broken an hour ago in their small apartment kitchen, right as she was preparing what should have been their last quiet dinner as a couple. Now, at 11:47 p.m., the fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Medical Center cast harsh shadows across her pale face. "Marcus?" she whispered, searching his dark eyes for the man who used to hold her like she was made of glass. "The babies are coming. We need to—" "I can't do this, Anna." The words hit her harder than any contraction. Marcus Jonathan stood by the vending machine, his hands shaking as he fumbled with his phone. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his button-down shirt wrinkled. He looked like a stranger. "What do you mean you can't—" Another wave of pain cut through her words, forcing her to grip the wall. "Marcus, I need you. We need you." But when she looked up, he was already backing toward the exit. No explanation, no apology. Just the sound of his dress shoes echoing down the linoleum hallway, growing fainter with each step. Anna stood there, alone, as nurses rushed past her toward other emergencies. The weight of abandonment settled into her chest like a stone. 8 months of pregnancy, 2 years of marriage, and he simply left. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "He's with me now. Sorry you had to find out this way. Melissa." The phone slipped from her trembling fingers, clattering, against the floor. Ma'am, are you all right?" A gentle voice broke through her shock. Anna looked up to see a doctor in scrubs approaching, his green eyes filled with concern. Something about his face seemed familiar, like a half-remembered dream. My husband," she started, then stopped. What was there to say? That her world had just collapsed in a hospital corridor? The doctor moved closer, his voice soft but steady. "Let's get you to a room. You're in labor, aren't you?" Anna nodded, unable to trust her voice. As another contraction hit, she instinctively reached out and the doctor caught her hand without hesitation. His palm was warm, steady, completely different from Marcus's cold touch moments before. "What's your name?" he asked, guiding her slowly down the hall. Anna Gabrielle Martins." The doctor stopped walking. His eyes widened slightly, as if he'd just solved a puzzle he'd been working on for years. "Anna Gabrielle from Maple Street? Who used to climb Mrs. Henderson's apple tree?" Despite everything, a small smile crossed her lips. Peter James Alves." He squeezed her hand gently. "It's been a long time, Anna. But I'm here now." As they walked toward the maternity ward, together, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, the universe had a plan after all, because sometimes the person you need most shows up exactly when everything else falls apart. "Breathe with me, Anna. In and out." Peter's voice cut through the chaos in her mind like a lighthouse beam through fog. The delivery room felt both, too bright and too dim, sterile yet intimate. Anna gripped his hand so tightly she was sure she'd leave marks, but he never pulled away. I can't do this alone," she gasped between contractions, tears streaming down her face. The monitors beeped steadily around them, tracking 2 heartbeats that weren't hers, her twins, fighting to enter a world that had already shown them cruelty. "You're not alone." Peter adjusted the damp cloth on her forehead with his free hand. "I'm right here, I'm not going anywhere." The irony wasn't lost on her. The man who'd disappeared from her life at 18, when she'd chosen Marcus over friendship, over the quiet boy who brought her wildflowers and listened to her dreams, was now the only person standing between her and complete despair. "Dr. Alvis?" The head nurse, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, approached. "Your shift ended 2 hours ago." Peter never looked away from Anna. "I'm exactly where I need to be." Anna's memory drifted through the pain. She was 17 again, sitting on Peter's back porch, watching him tune his guitar while she complained about her parents' divorce. He'd always been there, until Marcus came along with his confident smile and grand promises. She'd chosen passion over peace, excitement over stability. Another contraction coming, the attending physician announced. Anna, you need to push. The next hour blurred together like watercolors in rain. Peter's steady presence, his calm instructions, the way he seemed to anticipate her needs before she voiced them. When she said she was cold, a warm blanket appeared. When she felt nauseous, he had a cool cloth ready. When she whispered she was scared, he leaned closer. Remember when we were kids and you were afraid of thunderstorms? He said softly. You'd call me at midnight, and I'd stay on the phone until the thunder stopped. You'd tell me stories about brave princesses, she managed between pushes. That's right, and you know what? You're still the bravest person I know. At 3:17 a.m., her daughter entered the world with a strong cry that echoed off the delivery room walls. 3 minutes later, her son followed, smaller but equally determined. 2 healthy babies, the doctor announced. A girl and a boy. Anna collapsed back against the pillows, exhausted but filled with an overwhelming surge of love. Peter stood beside her, his scrubs rumpled, his hair disheveled, but his eyes bright with tears. They're beautiful, Anna. Absolutely beautiful. As the nurses cleaned and weighed the babies, Anna found herself studying Peter's face. The boy she'd known had become a man, stronger, more confident, but with the same gentle soul that had drawn her to him years ago. Peter, she whispered. Why didn't you leave? Your shift was over. You could have gone home. He was quiet for a long moment, watching as the nurses placed her daughter in her arms. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. Because 17 years ago, I promised myself that if you ever needed me, really needed me, I'd be there. Even if you didn't remember. Even if you'd forgotten who I was. Anna's breath caught. She looked down at her daughter, perfect, tiny, innocent, then back at Peter. But before she could respond, her phone buzzed on the side table. A text from Marcus. Changed my mind. On my way back. We need to talk. And in that moment, Anna realized her story was far from over. The knock on Anna's hospital room door came at 6:30 a.m., just as she was attempting to breastfeed her daughter for the 3rd time. Marcus walked in like he owned the place. Designer jeans, expensive cologne, and that practiced smile that had once made her knees weak. Now it just made her tired. Anna, baby, I'm so sorry. I panicked, but I'm here now. He carried a bouquet of roses and a stuffed teddy bear that still had the price tag. How are my kids? My kids. The words hit her like ice water. Where were you, Marcus? Anna's voice was steady, but Peter, who'd been dozing in the uncomfortable hospital chair, straightened at her tone. I just needed air. You know how hospitals make me nervous. Marcus finally noticed Peter. And you are? Dr. Peter Alves. I delivered your wife's babies. Peter stood slowly, and Anna noticed he didn't extend his hand. Great, thanks for that. Marcus dismissed him with a wave. Could we have some privacy? Family business. Anna watched the exchange with growing clarity. Marcus's jaw was set in that familiar way, the look he got when he wanted to control a situation. But Peter didn't move. Actually, Anna said quietly, Dr. Alves has been here all night. He stayed when he didn't have to. She looked directly at Marcus. Unlike some people. Marcus's smile faltered for a microsecond before snapping back into, Place, Anna, we need to talk about us, about our future. There is no us anymore, Marcus. You made that clear when you walked out. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. He moved closer to her bed, lowering his voice to that intimate tone he used when he wanted something. I love you. I love our family. Let me make this right. Peter cleared his throat. I should check on your discharge paperwork. He squeezed Anna's shoulder gently, a small gesture that somehow conveyed more support than all of Marcus's words combined. I'll be at the nurse's station if you need anything. After Peter left, Marcus's mask slipped completely. Who is that? Guy to you? Old boyfriend? He's a friend. A good friend who was there when I needed him most. Right. Marcus sat on the edge of her bed reaching for her hand. Look, I know I screwed up, but we can fix this. I've been thinking about getting a bigger place, maybe that house you liked in Westfield. The kids deserve a real home. Anna pulled her hand away. They deserve a father who doesn't abandon them in hospital corridors. I was scared, okay? Becoming a dad is terrifying, but I'm ready now. Ready now. Marcus, they're 3 hours old. Where exactly have you been these past 3 hours while I was learning how to keep them alive? Marcus's expression darkened. I told you I needed to think, and apparently I needed to, because you've already got some doctor playing hero. Peter isn't playing anything, he's been helping me because that's who he is. Right, St. Peter. Marcus stood up, pacing. How convenient that your old friend just happened to be working tonight. Anna stared at him, really looked at him, maybe for the first time in years. The handsome face that had once made her heart race now seemed empty, like a beautiful house with no one home. You know what, Marcus, you're right, it was convenient. It was convenient that when you walked away, someone who actually cares about me was there to pick up the pieces. I care about you. No, you care about the idea of me. You care about not losing something you think belongs to you. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, colder. Fine. Take some time. Think about what you're giving up. Think about what kind of life a single mother can provide versus what I can offer. He headed toward the door, then turned back. That doctor friend of yours, he won't stick around when things get real, when there are dirty diapers and sleepless nights and crying babies, when you're not some damsel in distress anymore. After he left, Anna sat in the silence, holding her son while her daughter slept in the bassinet. The roses Marcus brought were already wilting. 20 minutes later, Peter returned with coffee and a quiet smile. Everything okay? Anna looked at him. His rumpled scrubs, his tired eyes, his gentle presence that asked for nothing and offered everything. You know what? I think it's going to be. 3 weeks later, Anna's small apartment felt like a war zone. Baby bottles cluttered the kitchen counter, clean laundry sat in baskets waiting to be folded, and Anna hadn't slept more than 2 consecutive hours since coming home from the hospital. Her daughter, whom she'd named Lucia, seemed to cry whenever her son, Gabriel, was finally quiet. At 2:47 a.m., both babies were screaming. Anna sat on her couch in yesterday's pajamas, bouncing Gabriel while Lucia wailed from her bassinet. Dark circles shadowed her blue eyes and her black hair hung in tangles around her shoulders. She felt like she was drowning. Please, she whispered to no one, tears streaming down her face. I don't know what you need. The knock at her door was so soft she almost missed it over the crying. When she opened it, Peter stood there holding 2 bags of groceries and wearing an apologetic smile. I know it's late. I was just getting off shift and thought. He took in her appearance. The exhaustion, the tears, the chaos behind her. Rough night? Rough 3 weeks. Anna stepped aside to let him in. They hate me. I'm sure of it. Peter set down the groceries and immediately went to Lucia, lifting her with practiced ease. Within minutes, her cries softened to small hiccups. They don't hate you, they're just adjusting to the world. He gently swayed with Lucia while Anna continued bouncing Gabriel. When did you last eat? Anna had to think. Yesterday? Maybe? Anna. I know. But every time I try to make something, one of them needs me, and by the time they're settled, I've forgotten I was hungry. Peter nodded toward the kitchen. I brought ingredients for that soup your mom used to make. The one with the little dumplings? You mentioned it once when we were kids. Anna stared at him. You remember my mom's soup? I remember everything about those days. He adjusted Lucia in his arms. Go take a shower. I'll watch them. Peter, you just worked a 12-hour shift. You must be exhausted. I'm fine. Go. When you come back, there'll be hot food and clean babies. 45 minutes later, Anna emerged from the bathroom feeling almost human. The apartment was quiet except for gentle humming coming from the kitchen. She found Peter at the stove, stirring soup with one hand while holding a sleeping Gabriel against his chest. Lucia was peaceful in her bouncy seat nearby. "How did you?" "Gabriel likes being held upright. Helps with his digestion." And Lucia just needed her diaper changed and some gentle bouncing. Peter ladled soup into a bowl. "Sit, eat." As Anna sipped the soup, which tasted exactly like her mother's, she watched Peter move around her kitchen like he belonged there. He washed bottles, folded baby clothes, and somehow made it all look effortless. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. Peter paused in his folding. "What do you mean?" "This, all of it. You have your own life, your own apartment. You work insane hours, yet you're here at 3 a.m. making soup and folding onesies." He was quiet for a long moment, smoothing a tiny pink dress. "Remember when we were 8 and you found that injured bird in your backyard?" Anna nodded, though she wasn't sure where he was going. "You spent 3 weeks nursing it back to health. Your mom said it was a waste of time, that wild birds couldn't be saved. But you wouldn't give up." He looked at her. "You stayed up all night, fed it with an eyedropper, kept it warm. And when it finally flew away, you cried for hours. I remember. It was a baby robin. I asked you why you cried when it got better. And you said." He waited. "Because I was afraid no one would take care of it like I did. That's when I knew I loved you. Not the way 8-year-olds think they love. Really loved. Because you cared about something small and helpless with your whole heart." He returned to folding. "You're still that person, Anna, and now you have 2 small, helpless beings who need that same fierce love." Anna set down her spoon, overwhelmed. "But what about you? Don't you want your own family someday?" Peter's hand stilled on a blue onesie. When he looked at her, his green eyes were soft but certain. "I'm looking at my family." Before Anna could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Thinking about you and the kids. Miss our talks. Want to grab coffee this week?" The spell broke. Reality rushed back in. Anna looked at Peter, then at the phone, then at her sleeping children. Some choices, she realized, would define everything that came after. Anna almost didn't. Go. She sat in her car outside Cafe Luna for 10 minutes watching Marcus through the window. He'd chosen their old spot, the corner table where they had had their first date 4 years ago. He wore a navy blue sweater she'd bought him for Christmas, and his hair was perfectly styled despite the October wind. Gabrielle and Lucia slept peacefully in their car seats behind her. 2 months old now, they were finally settling into something, resembling a routine, thanks largely to Peter's patient guidance. Her phone buzzed. "See you tonight for Gabriel's doctor appointment." Peter. The contrast hit her like a physical blow. Marcus texting about coffee dates and nostalgia. Peter texting about pediatric checkups and genuine concern. She walked into the cafe anyway. "Anna." Marcus stood immediately, his smile bright and practiced. "You look amazing. Motherhood suits you." She didn't feel amazing. Her jeans were still too tight, her hair was in a messy bun, and she had spit up on her shoulder. But she slid into the booth across from him. "Thanks for coming. I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't." Anna accepted the latte he'd already ordered for her. Vanilla, 2 sugars, exactly how she used to like it. Except she'd stopped drinking caffeine while breastfeeding. Another detail Marcus had forgotten or never bothered to learn. "How are they? The babies?" "Their names are Lucia and Gabriel, and they're fine." Marcus nodded, missing the edge in her voice. "Good, good. Listen, I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few months. About us. About what I want." "And what do you want, Marcus?" "I want my family back." He leaned forward, reaching for her hand. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But people make mistakes, Anna. What matters is learning from them." Anna looked down at his hand covering hers. Once that touch had sent electricity through her. Now it felt heavy, possessive. "What exactly did you learn?" that I love you, that I want to be a father, that we can make this work if we both try. Where were you last Tuesday night when Gabriel had a fever of 102? Marcus blinked. What? Last Tuesday. Gabriel was sick. I was terrified. Didn't know if I should take him to the emergency room. Where were you? Anna, how would I know he was sick? You didn't call me. You're right, I didn't. I called Peter. At midnight, and you know what he did? Marcus's jaw tightened. I'm sure you're going to tell me. He came over in his pajamas, examined Gabriel, took his temperature, stayed until his fever broke at 4 a.m. Then he went to work the next morning like nothing happened. Great. St. Peter saves the day again. Anna pulled her hand away. This isn't about Peter. This is about you thinking love is grand gestures and pretty words. But love isn't coffee dates and expensive sweaters, Marcus. It's 3 a.m. fevers and dirty diapers and being there when someone needs you most. I can do that stuff too. Can you? Because in the 2 months since they were born, you've seen them exactly 3 times, and each time you handed them back to me the moment they cried. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his fingers drumming against the table. When he spoke, his voice was different, sharper. Look, I get it. You're tired. You're overwhelmed. Single. Motherhood is hard. But that's exactly why you need me. I can provide for you, for them. A real house, financial security, a stable life. I have a stable life. Really? Working part-time at the insurance office while some guy plays house with your kids? The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Anna felt something shift inside her, a door closing, a bridge burning. Peter doesn't play house. He helps because he cares. Not because he wants something from me, but because helping is who he is. Right. And when you're not interesting anymore? When the novelty of playing daddy wears off? What then? Anna stood up, her untouched latte growing cold. You know what, Marcus? You're probably right. Maybe Peter will get tired of us. Maybe he'll find someone easier, someone without complications. Marcus smiled, thinking he'd won. But here's the difference between you two, Anna continued. Peter earned the right to leave. He stayed through the hard parts first. You left before they even began. She walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and Marcus, stop texting me about coffee dates. If you want to be a father, start by learning your children's middle names. Outside, the October air felt clean and sharp. Anna strapped the car seats back in, her hands steadier than they'd been in months. As she drove away, she caught Marcus in her rearview mirror, still sitting at their old table staring at his phone. Some chapters, she realized, were meant to end. 2 years had passed like a gentle river finding its course. Anna's small apartment had transformed into something that felt like home. Colorful finger paintings covered the refrigerator, toy blocks scattered across the living room floor, and the sound of children's laughter had replaced the silence that once echoed off these walls. Mama! Mama, look! Lucia pointed excitedly at the goldfish swimming in their small tank by the window. At 2 years old, she was fearless and curious, with Anna's blue eyes and a smile that could melt ice. Gabriel, quieter but equally observant, sat building a tower with wooden blocks. He had his father's darker features, but none of Marcus's restless energy. Instead, he possessed a calm focus that reminded Anna of someone else entirely. That's Nemo, sweetheart, Anna said, wiping paint from Lucia's cheek. They'd spent the morning creating masterpieces that looked more like colorful explosions than actual pictures. But the joy on their faces made every messy minute worth it. The front door opened with the familiar jingle of keys that had become the soundtrack of their days. Where are my favorite artists? Peter's voice called from the entryway. Pete, Pete! Lucia abandoned her fish watching and ran toward the sound, her little feet pattering across the hardwood. Anna's heart did that thing it had been doing lately, a small flutter whenever she heard his voice, saw his smile, watched him with her children. Somewhere between midnight feedings and first steps, between doctor visits and bedtime stories, something had shifted. The gratitude had deepened into something warmer, more dangerous. Peter appeared in the doorway, still in his hospital scrubs, but with paint smudges already decorating his arms from Lucia's enthusiastic hug. "How was your day at the hospital?" Anna asked, noting the tired lines around his green eyes. "Long. 3 emergency surgeries and a consultation that ran late." He knelt down as Gabriel approached more cautiously, offering his characteristic, gentle smile. "But this makes it all better." Gabriel handed Peter a wooden block, then climbed into his lap with the easy trust that children reserve for people who've proven themselves safe. "Any word from—" Peter didn't finish the sentence. He never said Marcus's name in front of the children. "Nothing. It's been 3 months since his last text." Anna settled beside them on the floor, watching as Peter helped Gabriel add another block to his tower. "I think he's finally realized that being a father involves more than occasional guilt messages. That's probably for the best." They fell into comfortable silence, the kind that happens between people who've learned each other's rhythms. Peter continued building with Gabriel while Lucia showed Anna her latest artistic creation, something that might have been a house or possibly a purple dinosaur. "Daddy, help!" Lucia suddenly called out, frustrated that her block wouldn't balance on top of Gabriel's tower. The word hung in the air like a held breath. Anna froze. Peter went completely still. Even Gabriel looked up from his blocks, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "What did you say, baby?" Anna asked gently. Lucia looked confused by the adult's reactions. "Daddy help?" She pointed at Peter, then at the uncooperative block. "Daddy fix?" Peter's face had gone pale. "Anna, I never told them to." "I know." Anna's voice was soft, understanding. She looked at her daughter, then at Peter, then at Gabriel, who was now reaching for Peter's face with small paint-covered hands. "Daddy," Gabriel said clearly, his first attempt at the word. He patted Peter's cheek and smiled. Peter's eyes filled with tears. "I should go. I should—" He started to stand, but Gabriel's small hands gripped his shirt. "No go, Daddy." Anna watched this man who had given them everything, his time, his patience, his heart, struggle with accepting what her children were offering so freely. Love, family, home. "Peter." She reached over and covered his hand with hers. "They're not wrong." He looked at her, confusion and hope warring in his expression. "You've been here for every fever, every sleepless night, every first smile. You taught Gabriel to stack blocks and Lucia to be gentle with Nemo. You know that Gabriel likes his toast cut into triangles, and that Lucia only sleeps if someone reads her 3 stories. Anna's voice grew stronger. "Biology doesn't make a father. Showing up does." Peter was quiet for a long moment, Gabriel still in his lap, Lucia leaning against his shoulder. "I love them," he whispered. "I love them like they're mine." "They are yours." The truth of it settled around them like warmth. These children, this home, this imperfect, beautiful life they'd built together. It was theirs. But Anna's phone buzzed against the coffee table, shattering the moment. Marcus's name appeared on the screen with a message that made her blood run cold. "Heard some interesting things about my kids calling another man daddy. We need to talk, soon." Peter saw her expression change. "What is it?" Anna looked at her children, then at Peter, then at the phone that seemed to pulse with threat. Some moments of perfect happiness, she realized, were just the calm before the storm. Marcus arrived on a Tuesday morning like bad news, dressed in expensive clothes. Anna was in the kitchen making breakfast when the knock came. Sharp, demanding, nothing like Peter's gentle taps. Through the window, she could see a black BMW parked outside her building, gleaming and out of place in her modest neighborhood. "Mama, who's that?" Lucia asked from her high chair, syrup covering her fingers, and probably half her face. "Someone who doesn't belong here," Anna whispered, more to herself than to her daughter. Gabriel looked up from his scrambled eggs, sensing the tension that had suddenly filled the room. At 2 years old, he was remarkably perceptive, always watching, faces for clues about whether his world was safe. Anna opened the door but didn't step aside. Marcus looked different, more polished, more expensive. His haircut probably cost more than Anna's grocery budget, and his watch caught the morning light like a tiny sun. But his eyes held the same cold calculation she'd finally learned to recognize. "Hello, Anna." "What do you want, Marcus?" "I want to see my children." He peered around her into the apartment. "Lucia, Gabriel, come say hello to Daddy." The children didn't move. Lucia actually scooted her chair closer to Anna, while Gabriel's lower lip started to tremble. "They don't know you," Anna said quietly. Exactly the problem. Marcus pushed past her into the apartment uninvited. 2 years, Anna. 2 years of you playing house with some other man, letting my kids call him father. Keep your voice down. I'll use whatever voice I want in my children's presence." Gabriel started crying. Not the normal fussing of a toddler, but the deep, frightened sobs of a child who understood that something was very wrong. Anna immediately went to him, lifting him from his high chair and holding him close. "Shh, baby. It's okay." "It's not okay." Marcus's voice was getting louder. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You've turned them against me. I haven't said a word about you to them. They don't even know who you are because you've never been here. I'm here now. 2 years too late." Marcus moved closer, and Anna instinctively stepped back, still holding Gabriel. Lucia had gone, completely quiet, a silence that worried Anna more than crying would have. "I've been getting my life together, building something. I have a new business, a house in Westchester. I can provide for them now." "They don't need you to provide. For them, they're fine. Are they? Living in this cramped apartment depending on the charity of some doctor who's probably just trying to get into your bed? Get out." Anna's voice was steel. "Get out right now. I'm not going anywhere. I have rights. You have nothing. You abandoned them. I made a mistake. I'm trying to fix it. Some things can't be fixed, Marcus. Some things are broken forever." That's when she heard it, the soft jingle of keys in the lock. Peter was early for lunch, something he did on Tuesdays when his schedule allowed. The door opened and Peter stepped inside, still wearing his white coat from the hospital. He took in the scene immediately, Anna backing away with Gabriel in, her arms, Lucia silent and wide-eyed, Marcus standing too close with his hands clenched. "Is everything all right here?" Peter's voice was calm, but Anna could see the tension in his shoulders. "And you must be the boyfriend." Marcus turned toward Peter with a smile that had sharp edges. "Marcus Silva, the father." Peter didn't respond to the provocation. Instead, he moved toward Lucia, who immediately reached for him. "Uncle Pete," she cried, the first words she'd spoken since Marcus arrived. Uncle Pete, not Daddy. Even at 2 years old, Lucia understood that this stranger's presence had changed something, made their safe word dangerous. Peter lifted her easily and she buried her face in his neck. "I think you should leave," Peter said quietly. "I'm not taking parenting advice from the babysitter." "I'm not the babysitter. I'm the man who's been here every day for 2 years, while you've been nowhere." Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Right. The hero. Tell me, doctor, what happens when you get tired of playing daddy to another man's kids? When you meet someone without baggage?" "That will never happen." "Never? You're willing to bet your whole life on that?" Peter looked at Anna, then at the children in their arms, then back at Marcus. "I already have." The words hung in the air like a declaration of war. Marcus's mask finally slipped completely. "We'll see about that. I'm filing for custody. Joint custody to start, but I think any judge will see that children belong with their biological father, not some stranger who's been playing house." Anna felt the blood drain from her face. "You can't?" "I can. And I will." Marcus headed toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and Anna, you might want to think carefully about how this looks. An unmarried mother, living with a man who's not the father depending on his charity. What kind of environment is that for children?" After he left, Anna sank onto the couch, still holding Gabriel. Peter sat beside her with Lucia, Both children, unnaturally quiet. He can't take them, can he? Anna's voice was barely a whisper. Peter was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady, but she could hear the fear underneath. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Anna looked at him, this man who'd never promised her anything but had given her everything. And she realized that Marcus was right about one thing. She did need to think carefully about how this looked, because sometimes love wasn't enough. Sometimes you needed more than good intentions and gentle hearts. Sometimes you needed to fight. The legal papers arrived on a Friday afternoon, delivered by a man in a suit who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Anna stared at the official documents spread across her kitchen table, while Gabriel napped and Lucia played quietly with her dolls in the living room. The words blurred together. Petition for joint custody, biological father's rights, best interests of the children. Peter found her there an hour later, still in her work clothes from the insurance office, mascara smudged under her eyes. Anna? She looked up at him, this man who'd become her anchor, her safe harbor, and felt her world tilting dangerously. He's serious. Marcus is actually serious. She gestured at the papers. He wants joint custody, 50-50, half their lives with a stranger who abandoned them. Peter sat across from her, reading over the legal documents with the same careful attention he gave medical charts. What does your lawyer say? I can't afford a lawyer. Not a good one, anyway. The free legal clinic says... She swallowed hard. They say he has a case. Biological fathers have rights even if they've been absent. And the fact that She couldn't finish the sentence. That you're what? Unmarried. Living with someone who's not their father. Marcus made it sound like we're... Heat flooded her cheeks. Peter was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. Anna, if us living together is going to hurt your case, don't. The word came out sharper than she intended. Don't you dare suggest leaving. I'm just saying if it would help. It wouldn't help, it would destroy us. Anna stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. Do you know what Lucia asked me yesterday? She asked if you were going away like the bad man wanted. Peter's expression darkened. She said that? Kids hear everything, they know something's wrong. Gabriel won't let me out of his sight and Lucia keeps checking to make sure you're still here. Anna turned back to face him. They're terrified, Peter, of losing their family, of losing you. They won't lose me. Won't they? Because Marcus is right about one thing. You have no legal standing here. If he gets custody, if a judge decides the children should split time between us, you become nothing. Just the guy who used to help out. Peter stood up, moving toward her. Is that what you think, that I'd just disappear? I think you're a good man who deserves better than getting dragged through a custody battle for children who aren't biologically yours. Stop. Peter's voice was firm now, almost angry. Stop talking about them like they're not mine. Stop talking about us like we're some temporary arrangement. But that's what we are, isn't it? We never talked about what this is, what we are. What we are. Peter stepped closer, his green eyes intense. Anna, I've been in love with you since we were 17 years old. Not puppy love, not some childhood crush. Real, grown-up, would do anything for you love. Anna's breath caught. I've spent the last 2 years not saying anything because you needed time to heal, time to figure things out. But if you think for 1 second that I'm going anywhere, if you think I'd ever abandon you or those children... Peter, I love you, Anna. I love Lucia's fearless spirit and Gabriel's gentle heart. I love that you still can't fold fitted sheets and that you cry at Disney movies. I love our Saturday morning pancakes and our Sunday afternoon naps on the couch. His voice grew softer. I love that they call me Daddy, because that's what I am. In every way that matters. Tears were streaming down Anna's face now. I love you too. I have for months. But love doesn't win custody battles. Maybe not. But what if we stopped letting Marcus dictate the terms? What if we stopped playing defense? What do you mean? Peter moved to the kitchen drawer, the one where Anna kept important papers and takeout menus. He pulled out a small velvet box that made Anna's heart stop. I mean, what if we gave them something to really fight about? Anna stared at the ring box, then at Peter, then back at the box. How long have you... 3 months. I've been carrying it around, waiting for the right moment, waiting for when you were ready. He dropped to one knee right there in their chaotic kitchen, surrounded by legal papers and yesterday's dishes. Anna Gabrielle Martins, would you marry me? Not because of Marcus, not because of the custody case, but because I want to spend the rest of my life being Gabriel and Lucia's father and your husband. From the living room came the sound of little feet running. Mama, why you crying? Lucia appeared in the doorway, Gabriel trailing behind her. Anna looked down at Peter, still on one knee, then at her children watching with curious eyes. Because sometimes, she said, wiping her tears, grown-ups cry when they're really, really happy. Happy crying? Gabriel asked, climbing into Peter's lap despite the awkward position. The happiest crying, Peter confirmed, opening the ring box for Anna to see. The diamond wasn't huge. Peter was a pediatrician at a community hospital, not a movie star, but it caught the afternoon light and threw tiny rainbows across the kitchen wall. Pretty. Lucia clapped her hands. Anna looked at her family, because that's what they were, had always been, and realized that Marcus could threaten all he wanted. Some things were worth fighting for. Yes, she whispered. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to all of it. As Peter slipped the ring onto her finger, Anna felt something shift inside her. Not just happiness, but strength. Purpose. Let Marcus bring his lawyers and his threats. She was done being afraid. The courthouse felt like a cathedral of judgment, all marble columns and echoing footsteps. Anna sat beside her lawyer, a kind woman named Rebecca Chen who'd taken the case pro bono after hearing their story, trying to keep her hands from shaking. Peter sat behind her in the gallery, wearing his best suit and the expression of a man prepared to fight for his family. Across the aisle, Marcus looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Expensive suit, perfect hair, confident smile. His lawyer was everything Rebecca wasn't, polished, expensive, and radiating the kind of arrogance that money could buy. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Williams. Judge Williams was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and eyes that suggested she'd seen every kind of family drama imaginable. She settled behind her bench and opened the file. This is a petition for joint custody filed by Mr. Marcus Silva regarding his biological children, Lucia and Gabriel Martins. Mr. Silva, your attorney may proceed. Marcus's lawyer stood with theatrical precision. Your Honor, this case is about a father's fundamental rights and children's need for their biological parent. Mr. Silva made mistakes. He admits that freely. But people deserve second chances, especially when children's welfare is at stake. For the next 20 minutes, Anna watched Marcus transform into someone she barely recognized. Contrite, responsible, loving. He spoke about his new business, his stable home, his desire to be the father he should have been from the beginning. I was young and scared, he said when called to testify. But I've grown up. I've built a life worthy of my children. All I'm asking for is the chance to be their father. It was a masterful performance. Anna felt her hope cracking with each carefully chosen word. Then it was Rebecca's turn. Mr. Silva, she began, you say you want to be a father. Can you tell the court when Gabriel's last doctor's appointment was? Marcus blinked. I would need to check with Anna about that. What about Lucia's favorite bedtime story? Children's preferences change. Does Gabriel have any allergies? Not that I'm aware of. Actually, he's allergic to strawberries. Has been since he was 8 months old. It's in his medical records. Rebecca pulled out a thick folder. Records that show Dr. Peter Alves, listed as the emergency contact for both children. Dr. Alves, who has attended every single medical appointment for 2 years. Marcus's lawyer objected, but the damage was visible on Marcus's face. Your Honor, Rebecca continued, Mr. Silva speaks of wanting to be a father, but fatherhood isn't a role you can audition for after the children are already walking and talking. It's earned through midnight fevers and first steps, through bedtime stories and scraped knees. She called Peter to the stand. Anna watched the man she loved walk to the witness box with quiet dignity. He looked directly at the judge as he was sworn in. Dr. Alves, how would you describe your relationship with Lucia and Gabriel? They're my children, Peter said simply. Not biologically, but in every other way that matters. I've been their father since the night they were born. Can you elaborate? I was the doctor who delivered them when their biological father abandoned Ms. Martins during labor. I've been present for every milestone since. First words, first steps, first day of daycare. I know that Gabriel likes his sandwiches cut into triangles, and that Lucia won't sleep without her stuffed elephant. I know that Gabriel gets carsick on long drives, and that Lucia is afraid of the vacuum cleaner, but loves thunderstorms. Marcus's lawyer tried to object, but Judge Williams silenced him with a look. Dr. Alves, do you love these children? With everything I have. And if Mr. Silva is granted custody, how do you think that would affect them? Peter was quiet. For a moment, his green eyes finding Anna's across the courtroom. They would be devastated. Lucia still has nightmares from the day Mr. Silva came to our home. Gabriel stopped eating for 3 days afterward. They don't understand why a stranger wants to take them away from the only father they've ever known. The cross-examination was brutal. Marcus's lawyer attacked Peter's motivations, suggested he was manipulating the children, painted him as an outsider trying to steal another man's family. But Peter never lost his composure. He answered every question with quiet honesty, never attacking Marcus, always focusing on what was best for Lucia and Gabriel. When Anna was called to testify, she felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Ms. Martins, Rebecca asked gently, can you tell the court what happened the night your children were born? Anna told the truth. All of it. The abandonment, the terror, the way Peter had held her hand through the darkest moment of her life. She spoke about the years that followed, about building a family from love instead of obligation. I know Mr. Silva is their biological father, she concluded. But biology isn't everything. Peter chose us. Every day for 2 years he chose us. That's what makes him their real father. Marcus's lawyer tried to break her, to make her seem unstable, vindictive, unfit. But Anna had found her strength. She answered every question with calm certainty. Then came the moment that changed everything. During a recess, Anna overheard Marcus talking to his lawyer in the hallway. She was coming back from the bathroom when she heard his voice, low and vicious. Look, I don't actually want the kids full-time. They're a pain in the ass. But she took them from me, and now she's playing happy family with some other guy. I want her to know I can take them whenever I want. I want control. Anna pulled out her phone and hit record. What about the custody arrangement? The lawyer asked. 50-50 sounds good on paper, but realistically, I'll take them every other weekend, maybe some holidays. Just enough to mess up whatever perfect life she thinks she's building. When court resumed, Rebecca played the recording. The silence that followed was deafening. Judge Williams looked at Marcus with an expression that could have frozen fire. Mr. Silva, after what I've just heard, I'm not only denying your petition for custody, I'm recommending a psychological evaluation before you're allowed any supervised visitation. Marcus's face went white. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm approving Ms. Martins's request to add Dr. Alves as a legal guardian and co-parent. This family has shown more love and stability in 2 years than some children see in a lifetime. Anna felt Peter's hand squeeze her shoulder from behind. Case dismissed. As they walked out of the courthouse, Marcus tried one last time. This isn't over, Anna. Peter stepped between them, his usually gentle demeanor replaced by something harder. Yes, it is. Stay away from our family. Our family. The words had never sounded more beautiful. That night, as they put Lucia and Gabriel to bed in their small apartment, Anna realized something profound. They had won more than a custody battle. They had won their future. 6 months later, Anna stood in front of the full-length mirror in her childhood bedroom, smoothing down the simple white dress her mother had worn 30 years ago. "You look beautiful, mija," her mother whispered, adjusting the delicate lace sleeves. Outside, the small backyard was decorated with white roses and twinkling lights. Nothing fancy, but perfect for the intimate gathering of 20 people who truly mattered. "I can't believe this is really happening," Anna murmured, touching the pearl necklace Peter had given her. His grandmother's, he'd said, saved for the woman who would complete his family. "Believe it, you deserve this happiness." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so proud of how strong you've become." Through the window, Anna could see Peter at the makeshift altar, looking nervous and handsome in his navy suit. His hands were clasped behind his back, and she knew he was probably fighting the urge to check his watch for the 100th time. Lucia appeared in the doorway wearing a pale pink dress, her dark hair crowned with a circle of baby's breath. At 3 years old, she took her role as flower girl very seriously. "Mama, it's time. Uncle Roberto says the music is starting." Gabriel peeked around the corner, clutching the small pillow that held their rings. He'd been practicing his walk down the aisle for weeks, determined not to trip in his tiny black suit. "Are you ready, my loves?" Anna asked, kneeling to their level. "Ready," Lucia declared. Gabriel nodded solemnly, then broke into the smile that always reminded Anna of sunshine breaking through clouds. The ceremony was small, but perfect. Anna's father walked her down the aisle while Gabriel and Lucia scattered rose petals ahead of them. Peter's eyes never left her face, and when she reached him, he whispered, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "We are gathered today," the officiant began, "to witness the union of Anna, Peter, Gabriel, and Lucia, because this isn't just a marriage, it's the celebration of a family." When it came time for vows, Anna spoke first, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill. "Peter, you came into our lives when we were broken, and you didn't try to fix us. You helped us heal ourselves. You loved us when we were messy and complicated and afraid. You chose us every single day, and today I choose you, not just as my husband, but as the father of our children and the keeper of our hearts." Peter's voice was thick with emotion when he replied, "Anna, Lucia, Gabriel, you three saved me. I thought I knew what love was, but you taught me that love isn't just a feeling. It's showing up. It's staying. It's building something beautiful from pieces that others might have thrown away." He looked at the children, who were listening with rapt attention. "I promise to be your dad, your protector, your biggest fan, and your safe place to land. Always." When the officiant pronounced them a family, Gabriel and Lucia cheered before the adults could even clap. The reception was held in Anna's mother's backyard, with string lights overhead and tables laden with homemade food. Peter's colleagues from the hospital mingled with Anna's friends from work, but the real entertainment came from watching Lucia teach Peter's elderly Portuguese grandfather how to salsa dance. As the evening wound down, Anna found herself on the back porch with Peter, watching their children play in the grass with their cousins. Gabriel was carefully catching fireflies in a mason jar while Lucia spun in circles, her dress flowing around her like flower petals. "Do you think they'll remember this?" Anna asked, leaning into Peter's warmth. "They'll remember being happy. They'll remember being loved. That's what matters." Anna thought about the long journey that had brought them here, the pain, the fear, the moments when she'd thought her world was ending. It seemed impossible now that she'd ever been that broken woman crying alone in a hospital corridor. "Peter? I need to tell you something." She turned in his arms, looking up at the man who'd become her anchor, her home, her forever. "I'm pregnant." Peter went completely still. "What?" 8 weeks. I found out yesterday but wanted to wait until after the wedding to tell you." Anna smiled at his stunned expression. "Are you okay with that? Another baby? Another beautiful complication?" Peter's answer was to lift her off her feet and spin her around, both of them laughing like teenagers. "Are you kidding? I'm over the moon. Lucia and Gabriel are going to be the best big siblings." He set her down gently, his hands immediately going to her still flat stomach. A baby. Our baby. From across the yard, Lucia's voice rang out clear and joyful. Daddy, come catch fireflies with us. Peter looked at Anna, then at their children, then back at Anna. Coming, he called out, but first he kissed his wife. Softly, deeply, with all the promise of tomorrow. As they walked hand in hand toward their children, Anna felt a profound sense of completeness. Not because her life was perfect, it wasn't, and it never would be, but because it was theirs. Built from love, strengthened by choice, made beautiful by the courage to keep believing in second chances. Marcus had been wrong about so many things, but especially this. Love wasn't about possession or control. Love was about coming home. And Ana Gabrielle Alves was finally, completely, home. The fireflies danced around them like tiny stars, and in the distance church bells chimed the hour, not an ending, but a beginning. Some stories, Ana realized, don't end with happily ever after. They end with happily ever beginning. The Saturday morning chaos in the Alves household was the kind of beautiful mess that comes with raising 3 children under the age of 8. Ana stood at the kitchen counter, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, trying to pack 3 different lunchboxes while simultaneously mediating a dispute between Lucia and Gabriel about who got the last dinosaur-shaped cookie. Her 5-year-old son Benny sat in his high chair, systematically dropping pieces of banana onto the floor for their golden retriever Murphy to eagerly devour. Mama, Gabriel took my cookie, Lucia protested, her 8-year-old sense of justice deeply offended. I didn't take it, I just relocated it, Gabriel defended, now 7 and possessing his father's diplomatic nature along with a mischievous streak that was entirely his own. Relocate it back to her plate, Ana said without looking up, a skill she'd perfected over the years. And Gabriel, use your words, not your hands. Peter emerged from the garage, baseball equipment slung over his shoulder, his weekend clothes slightly rumpled but his smile as warm as ever. At 39, he'd grown into his role as father of 3 with the same quiet confidence he brought to everything else. Who's ready for the big game? He announced, and Lucia immediately abandoned her cookie grievance to jump up and down. Me. Coach Martinez says I might get to pitch today. Gabriel, now more interested in books than baseball, looked less enthusiastic. Do I have to go? Tommy's mom said I could come over and we're going to build a volcano that actually erupts. Nice try, buddy. Peter ruffled his hair. Family game day is non-negotiable, but we can work on your volcano afterward. Ana watched this interaction with the quiet satisfaction that had become her default state. These moments, the ordinary, Saturday mornings filled with cookie disputes and baseball gear, were the life she'd never dared to dream of during those dark early days. Benny, stop feeding Murphy your breakfast, she said, wiping banana from her youngest son's cherubic face. He had Peter's green eyes, but Anna's stubborn streak, a combination that promised interesting teenage years ahead. Murphy hungry, Benny declared with the authority of someone who'd just turned 5 and therefore knew everything. Murphy is always hungry. That's why he's starting to look like a furry basketball. The morning routine continued its familiar dance. Backpacks checked, water bottles filled, sunscreen applied to 3 squirming children. Ana had learned to move through these moments with practiced efficiency, but also with presence. She'd learned over the years to notice the small graces hidden in the everyday chaos, like the way Peter automatically handed her a cup of coffee, perfectly prepared, without her having to ask. Like how Lucia still reached for her hand when they crossed the street even though she insisted she was practically a grown-up. Like how Gabriel had started leaving little drawings on her pillow, stick figures of their family with huge smiles, and a house that looked like it might topple over in a strong wind. As they loaded into Peter's minivan, a practical purchase that had horrified Anna's aesthetic sensibilities but proven invaluable for their increasingly complex family logistics, Ana caught her reflection in the passenger side mirror. She looked different from the broken woman who'd given birth alone in a hospital room 8 years ago. Older, yes, but also softer somehow. The sharp edges of pain had been worn smooth by love and time. There were laugh lines around her eyes, and a confidence in her posture that spoke of someone who knew exactly where she belonged. The baseball field was already buzzing with activity when they arrived. Other families spread blankets on the grass, siblings played on the playground, and the familiar sounds of childhood summers filled the air. Anna settled onto their usual spot in the bleachers while Peter headed off to help with equipment. "Anna, there you are." Her friend Martha waved from a few rows down. "How are you holding up? I saw Peter pulling an all-nighter at the hospital again this week." "We're good. Tired, but good." Anna bounced Benny on her lap while keeping one eye on Gabriel, who was attempting to explain the physics of baseball to a very patient Murphy. "Peter loves his work, and I love watching him love his work. You two make it look so easy." Anna laughed. "Easy?" "Martha, yesterday Benny flushed one of Lucia's shoes down the toilet. Gabriel decided to help with laundry by putting dish soap in the washing machine, and I found Lucia trying to give Murphy a haircut. Easy is not the word I'd use." "But you're happy?" The question was simple, but Anna found herself really considering it. Happy seemed too small a word for what she felt. Content, maybe. Grateful, certainly. But more than that, she felt claimed. By this life, by these people, by the everyday moments that had somehow added up to something extraordinary. "Yeah," she said finally. "I'm happy." The game was the usual delightful disaster that came with 8-year-olds playing competitive sports. Lucia did get to pitch and struck out 2 batters before walking the next 3. Gabriel spent most of the innings in the outfield examining interesting rocks, but managed to catch a pop fly in the 5th inning through what could only be described as divine intervention. During the 7th inning stretch, Anna noticed a familiar figure in the parking lot. Marcus leaning against an expensive car, watching the game from a distance. Her stomach clenched automatically, a Pavlovian response that 5 years hadn't completely erased. Peter followed her gaze and tensed slightly. "Want me to go talk to him?" "No, I will." Anna made her way across the field, leaving her family in the bleachers. As she approached, Marcus straightened, offering the same practiced smile that had once made her knees weak and now left her completely unmoved. "Anna, you look good. Motherhood still suits you." "What do you want, Marcus?" "Can't a father watch his children play baseball?" Anna looked at him steadily. "They're not your children. You made that choice a long time ago. Biologically, biology means nothing without presence. You know that, I know that, and more importantly, they know that." Anna glanced back at the field where Lucia was arguing with the umpire about a called strike. "They don't know who you are, Marcus, and I prefer it that way." Marcus was quiet for a moment, and for the first time in all their interactions, Anna thought she saw something genuine in his expression. Regret, maybe, or just the recognition of what he'd lost. "They look happy," he said finally. "They are happy. And you? Are you happy, Anna?" She studied his face. Still handsome, still carrying that aura of charm that had once captivated her. But now she could see through it to the emptiness underneath, the way surface beauty meant nothing without depth to support it. "I'm more than happy, Marcus. I'm home." He nodded slowly, understanding perhaps that this wasn't just about rejection. It was about the difference between loving someone and needing them, between wanting to possess and wanting to protect. "Tell them," he started, then stopped. "Never mind. Take care of yourself, Anna." As he walked away, Anna felt the last threads of her old life finally snapping. Not with drama or pain, but with the quiet certainty of a door closing on a room she no longer needed to enter. When she returned to the bleachers, Peter looked at her questioningly. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect." The game ended with Lucia's team winning by 2 runs, a victory celebrated with ice cream and the kind of sticky, joyful chaos that would require multiple wet wipes and possibly a complete change of clothes. That night, after 3 baths, 2 bedtime stories, and 1 minor crisis involving a lost stuffed elephant, Anna and Peter finally collapsed onto their couch. The house was quiet, except for the gentle hum of the dishwasher and the occasional creak of an old house settling into sleep. "Good day?" Peter asked, pulling Anna against his side. "The best day." She curled into his warmth, marveling as she always did at how perfectly she fit against him. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't been working that night, when the twins were born?" "No," Peter said without hesitation. "Because I was working that night. I was exactly where I was supposed to be, exactly when you needed me." "You don't believe in coincidence?" "I believe in love that's strong enough to call itself into existence." He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "I believe some people are meant to find each other, even if it takes 17 years and a few detours." Anna smiled, thinking about the long, winding path that had brought them here. The pain that had seemed unbearable at the time, the fear that had felt overwhelming, the moments when she'd thought her story was ending instead of just beginning. "What are you thinking about?" Peter asked. "That broken girl who thought her life was over when Marcus left. What about her?" "I want to go back and tell her that the best part of her story hasn't even started yet. That the man walking away isn't the love of her life. He's just making room for the love of her life to find her." "And what would you tell her about us?" Anna was quiet for a moment, listening to the sounds of their home, the soft breathing from upstairs, the tick of the grandfather clock Peter's grandmother had left him, the whisper of wind through the trees outside their bedroom window. "I'd tell her that some love stories don't start with fireworks. Some start with a gentle hand in the darkness, with someone who stays when staying is hard. With a man who sees your broken pieces and doesn't try to fix them, just loves them until they become something beautiful." Outside, a gentle rain began to fall, the kind of soft spring rain that promises new growth. Anna closed her eyes and listened to it patter against the windows, thinking about gardens and second chances, and the way love sometimes arrived not as a lightning strike but as a sunrise, gradual, gentle, and absolutely transformative. In a few hours, she'd wake up to Saturday morning chaos again. There would be breakfast to make and laundry to fold and small crises to navigate. Gabriel would probably try to conduct another science experiment in his bedroom. Lucia would practice, her pitching form on the living room wall, and Benny would find some new way to terrorize poor Murphy. It would be messy and loud and imperfect and absolutely wonderful. Because this was what happily ever after actually looked like. Not a perfect ending, but a beautiful beginning that kept beginning. Day after day, choice after choice, love after love. Ana Gabrielle Alves was finally, completely, eternally home, and every day she chose to stay. The end. What would you do if love came quietly without fireworks? Or grand gestures but with gentle hands and a promise to stay? Could you recognize it? Could you choose it? Could you trust that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin not with passion, but with presence? Your participation in our channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.